So it's Sasha here today on the podcast, and you are the casting producer behind that incredibly addictive program called Come Dine with Me, aren't you?
Yes, so I actually started on this job around a month ago. So I'm the newest casting producer, and I'm really, really excited to get my teeth stuck into this new series 18 of our solos version. So that's 5 dinner guests over 5 nights, cooking obviously to win potentially £1,000. I'm very excited.
Right, I'm going to ask you, first of all, a little bit about you, how you got yourself that role as that casting producer, first of all. How did it come about?
So I actually have built myself up within Come Dine with Me. So I started as a researcher, and then I moved up to an assistant producer, and then I went away for a couple of years. But the team at Come Dine with Me, the behind the scenes team, are absolutely lovely. And it's a really, really great show. If there's any kind of TV people listening to this and they want to get into TV, Come Dine with Me is a great show to build up your skills. You learn how to do everything, and the team is lovely. So I've just built a real connection with the behind the scenes, the execs, and they asked me to come back and produce it. So I'm very, very happy. It's one of these shows that is always on. So it's a long-term job, as you know, in TV or being freelance. You know, finding work can sometimes be quite difficult. So to have something which is, you know, more permanent than a 3-month jobby is absolutely great, especially in these times.
I think it's fantastic to see people in your position, from the researchers upwards. The amount of energy you have is phenomenal. You just kind of upbeat, smiley, energizing. As I've kind of been a contestant on various things in the past, and yeah, I take my hat off to you all. You just have this never-ending enthusiasm for everything, and like you say, with Come Dine with Me, it's on every night on the television, isn't it? You know, you think, oh, you scroll along, you go, stop there, have a little look, watch him, her, and him, and you think, oh, that's really interesting. And then you have couples come dine with me. Oh my goodness, it's a whole different dynamic, and you're on it all the time. How do you feel sometimes when you have a down day? You know, when you're thinking, oh God, but maybe have a hangover, maybe not, maybe you just want to stay in bed. How do you cope with being enthusiastic again?
I think what's great about like TV, radio, just chatting and being in a social environment, you know, I know in order to bring out the best of you, Beverley, or Roger, you know, I have to be enthusiastic in order for you to be enthusiastic to me. And that's what I tell all the casting teams. Like, when you're interviewing and auditioning, you need to have energy, because they're also going to mirror, you know, you. And, you know, if I was upset and sad on set, I can't imagine what the contributor would be. You know, not everyone gets to be on TV, do they? So you want to make sure that that day for them is as special as possible, and that they have a good reflection of Come Dine Me or any show that you've been on, Beverley. It would be really sad if you came away and said, you know what, that show, it was great to be on it, but the team were horrible, and you came away with like a bad taste in your mouth. So yeah, sometimes if you are hungover or you're feeling ill, but actually it's the team and the contestants and the people on the show who are able to kind of bring you back to life, and you kind of realize what you're doing it for, really. Most people on TV, they enjoy their work, which I think helps to move through like the sickness or the illness or whatever you might be feeling that day.
I think you kind of answered the next question I'm going to ask, really. What sort of people do you actually look for?
So, as I just said, energy is really important, especially for Come Dine with Me. It's 5 days, and I say days and nights because you'll need it for quite a lot of the day, even when you're not cooking. So you'll be needed for the menu reveal, which will take an hour, but you also need to travel there. You need to travel home, and then you need to get changed, and then we need to take you to the location of the other dinner party, and you need to get there for 4 p.m. and then dinner parties can last till 12, and you're on camera for quite a lot of time. So we need people who are able to kind of withstand their energy over the 5 nights, and people who have enough chat to chat for 5 nights. There's enough bits of information about them that can be peeled, you know, rather than it being an overload on the first night. We need to see characters and individuals grow over the 5 nights for the people at home to, you know, invest into them as well. And I think we also need people who are confident to kind of sit around the dinner table with 4 people that they wouldn't normally be with and not feel completely intimidated, because you might have someone who's 22 sitting with a 60-year-old woman or man who has lived, you know, a very different life and, you know, moved through the world very differently to you, and you need to be able to kind of hold yourself and not feel not completely going in yourself, you know, which can often happen if you are slightly younger, just because, you know, you're less experienced and you're just more nervous and all of that type of stuff. So we definitely take younger people. We just need them to be know themselves a little bit more, I would say.
But I do think that the differences in personalities is huge. Like you said, people need to be able to manage it, and so the layers are unpeeled. So somebody you might hate on day one actually is really kind of a really nice person on day 5, or different dynamics that go alongside that. One thing I was thinking about was 5 days, five evenings of 5 dinners and starters and mains and puddings. I mean, do people get full up, and can they say, "Oh, sorry, I can't eat that"? Not because I'm allergic to onions or whatever, just because I'm full up. I mean, how much weight do these people put on as they go along?
I think what we find is that people don't really eat in the day. After that first night, they realize that they're going to be extremely full and gluttonous afterwards, and they're like, "Do you know what? Maybe I won't eat breakfast and lunch today. Maybe I'll just have breakfast and leave a gap." I don't think we've had anyone be like, "I just can't eat this because I'm too full," without trying. But I know after 5 days, I might feel a bit heavier than I started.
Do the contestants pay for the meals, or does the show pay for the meals?
We give everyone a budget. So we give everyone money to buy their ingredients. And if they want to go above and beyond that, then that's absolutely fine. But we give enough money that we think that can cover a good 3-course meal using, I mean, everyone's got stuff in their pantry, don't they, as well? Salt, pepper, oil, that type of stuff. But yeah, if anyone wants to, you know, go above and beyond that and buy, you know, Wagyu beef or whatever, then probably our budget won't be able to afford 5 lovely Wagyu beef imported from Japan. But that is up to the contributor, how far they want to go.
Okay, that's really original. Yeah, that's really original. And just thinking about the local area, obviously you're covering our local area at the moment. How far will people be expected to travel?
So this series, because of COVID and the pandemic, we're doing things slightly differently. So in order for us to kind of produce a show that is as COVID safe as possible, we are using an independent location. So an independent location that's big enough to have 2 meters social distance. So the dinner party will probably feel slightly different, but still hold and maintain the Come Dine with me fun quirkiness that it always does. So people will be traveling probably half an hour max to get to that location. So we're trying to find a localized or central house that's big enough, and then round that half an hour, 45 minutes, depending. But, you know, for us, we like to keep it half an hour because it is quite, you know, you're traveling there every single day back and forth. That's another hour on top of the dinner party that you're getting there, as well as menu reveal. So we don't want it to be too far for the contributors.
What do you think the main success of the show is?
What do I think the main success of the show is? I think it's just a very relatable show. I think we've all had a friend who we look at the screen and feel, "Oh, I've got a friend just like that." Or everyone thinks they're a great cook as well, don't they? And then you watch the show and you realize, oh, maybe not. Most people can sometimes be a bit deluded. Under pressure, they feel like they can make this amazing phyllo pastry. And I think people like to see that at home. We like to see English people, I think we like to see people sometimes fail, and we like to see beautiful relationships evolve as well. And I think also it helps the show is 30 minutes long. It doesn't require too much attention. And I think in a world that we live right now, I think half an hour seeing a story evolve over 5 days is quite nice. What do you think, Roger? Why do you think it's been such a success?
I think it's just the kind of like the real life of people. You find out bits and pieces where you go, "Oh, I didn't know about that. Did you?" and all that kind of stuff, and how they gossip in between and all this kind of stuff. I think my favorite bits kind of are when they're on their own, when they're talking to the camera, when they go, "Oh, I didn't hear it," you know, about him and all that kind of stuff. I think those are the best bits of the show, not necessarily the cooking. Do you know what I mean? Although I'm obsessed with watching cookery shows, for instance, I do like that element of it as well. But I think it's all the gossip that goes behind the corners and all that kind of stuff to camera. And I suppose, do they see the footage before it's aired at all?
No, and I think you're completely right, Roger. What people present at the dinner table and what they say behind the back, there is usually a slight contrast, or, you know, you'll have the dinner guests laughing and clapping at the song that the host will sing, and then they might be saying something completely different in the bedroom into. And I also think we're so nosy, aren't we, as individuals? And actually to go into people's houses and see their kitchens, or, you know, their living rooms, you know, ooh, it's quite nice to be able to have that element of like seeing someone's house as well. I think people quite like that at home.
They go, didn't know they like that, and you know, finds that kinky gear, if you know what I'm saying there.
Exactly. You never know who someone is until you go into their home, and I think that's kind of the element of Come Dine with Me. And I think you see that, you know, if someone is their fifth night, you might not find out that kind of crucial bit of information until it is their evening, if you've entered their house. And I think that always really works on our show as well.
You must have so much material that you can't possibly show on the TV.
Yes. Yes, we often debate, or I often debate, like, wouldn't it be great if it was a 10 p.m. show? Then you could really have all the juicy stuff. But it's a 5 p.m. show, so there's lots of stuff that we can't show due to the timing. So yeah, you're right, Roger. There's a lot of show.
Perhaps that's what you need to speak to the execs at Channel 4 for, to do a late night version of Come Dine.
Maybe we need a little special or something.
I think you do. I think, you know, because how many years has it been going for?
Oh, I don't want to say the exact figure because I don't know, but I definitely think more than 15 years. It's been going more than 15 years, but I don't know the exact. So I don't want to give you the wrong figure and I get quoted and then I get in trouble.
That's fair
Maybe
enough.
you should have a revisit from the first people, you know, the first series, revisit, see what they're doing, and then maybe see if some of those people around the table are together now and you don't know and they've never said, and then you can go back and find out. That would be good, you know, in your first year as casting producer.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, maybe I will, Beverley. I'll revisit our first contributors. I wonder how old some of the oldest ones would be now.
Yeah. Can they still cook? Do they remember how?
Exactly. Would they ever cook that dish again? Have they improved on it? They've all got to cook the same dishes, but they have to improve on it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
So anyone that's responded to our post on our various social media sites, for instance, what would how'd you go about? What's the next stage for them?
Okay, so the next stage, they would have applied via a eTribes link, which is essentially a short form application form. And then our casting team will give them a call, or endeavour to give all of them a call. And the phone chat is really just finding out more information about them, really. So what they might cook at the party, what they like to get up to in their spare time, you know, what are their hobbies, what are their interests, how would their friends describe them? We're just trying to get a sense of who they are in the world, really. You know, what people they get on well with, what people, you know, they might ruffle their feathers, you know, if they were to do entertainment, what might it be? And then if they're selected after that and then moved on to the next stage, what we do is we do a recorded Zoom call. So that is essentially pretty much the same chat, but we're recording it. We'll then cut that down and then we pitch that to our commissioner at Channel 4. And they're the ones who kind of give the sign off as to who makes the final 5, really. So it can be quite, depending on where, we have 6 weeks to cast it. So depending on where you are in the process, you could be called the 4th week and 2 weeks later you're on the show. So TV is a quick turnaround, really. So yeah, it could be as quick as this, really, if you're great and we love you and want to move you forward through the process. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's really, really good to that. And it's a whole completely different world, isn't it, for new people to come along and do all those kinds of things, for sure. So how long does it take? So it takes, what on one night? Talk us through one night of filming.
Okay, so one night of filming would see, let's say you on the show, Beverley. One night of filming would see you being picked up from your house at around 3:30 and taken to the location at 4. And then we would do our walk-in shots. And I just want everyone to remember, things might change due to COVID this year. So this is how we would usually do it. We would do your walk-in shots, and then around 5:30 is kind of, you know, the shot with everyone having their drinks. And then from 5:30 to 11, you're essentially having your dinners. You'll be your starters, and then after your starters, we would pull individuals out to go to the bedroom. Sounds a bit saucy there, but to go to the bedroom and do the interviews, and then you come back for your main, and that would be kind of the repeat process. And then in the old days, you would go to the taxis and you would do your filming. Things this series might change just due to COVID, but all of that stuff isn't ironed out yet, but we'll get there.
And I always think that whole taxi bit is really quite interesting when they sit there with their 7 or something. I've had a really good night. Are they actually really drunk when they do? Some of them seem very drunk and very rosy cheeked, and then I'm going to give them a 7 because of this reason, and it's all upside down and things like that. So they are actually really drunk with that. Do you not think I better manage this?
We do manage it as best as possible. So we do have people, we have location researchers and APs being like, I don't know if you need that extra one, or all right, enough now. But there's only so much, we can manage and do. But, it might also be that sometimes that, the people who are more drunk, they're quite like weighted. The nights go on quite a long time. So, if they're sitting and waiting while, Beverley's up doing your interview with the producer, there's a bit of downtime, so they might have a drink. They might have a little tipple. But usually we haven't had any instances where really like people are sick or like too hungover to like film the next day. So that's all good. We manage it enough that the show can go on.
So what are the top tips for people watching and thinking of being on the show then, and thinking of applying for Come Dine with me?
Okay, so I would say top tips. So when you actually apply in your first stage of kind of writing information about you, make sure you fill out the application process properly. So we have hundreds of applications, and the likelihood of us calling you if you just put I'm fun or I'm energetic or I love to cook is small, because we don't really have anything else to go on. We're rather going to speak to someone who's given us a plethora of information that we're like, okay, they sound great, and they sound keen and interested because they've taken time to write to us. We never want you to be anything that you're not, so we don't want to hear like cliche statements, of I'm like Marmite, people love me or people hate me. We hear all that stuff all the time. We just want to find out about you. We want to find out the intricacies of your personality and your life and your world, which make you who you are. And if you're telling us you're opinionated, if you're telling us, you're spontaneous, then we want to hear about those stories which illustrate that you are opinionated and spontaneous, because really we know nothing about you until you tell us. So if you can explain yourself and explain these times which back up what you're saying, then you've got a really good chance of being on the show. We just want good talkers who are fun, who are confident, and have conviction in what they're telling us about who they are.
So do you do any research on these people once you've got a couple of people in mind? Do you do research on these people, kind of look into their past or whatever?
Not really. Like we do background checks more so for kind of, other reasons, but we wouldn't check, if Beverley says she's fun, I wouldn't go on Beverley's Facebook just to check that she's fun. Is there enough photos of her smiling to prove that she's fun? We wouldn't do that. I think as casting researchers and APs, like we've been in the game long enough that we have a good sense of if someone is being themselves or telling us what, they think that we want to hear.
What's the one thing that you look for most then?
Individuality. Like, I think the thing that I look for most is like, can I explain this person in a couple of lines that really sums them up, and if I can't do that, if I come off the end of the call and I still don't know who they are, it might be my fault. I need to dig a little bit more, or it might be that I just can't place them on the show. I can't. I need to know that I can place that person on the show with four other people. So individuality, and that doesn't have to be, someone who like raises pigs or is like really wacky. It just means individuality in their personality and able to explain that to us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's about being real, and it's about being passionate, and it's about being sincere, isn't it? You just got to be you. And how we started the interview, it's about being bigger and smiley but getting your personality across. So whether you can cook or
Totally.
not is another dynamic.
Yeah, and we've had introverts on the show and people who aren't like the typical TV person, and they are absolutely fantastic as well. As long as you are yourself, that's what makes TV great, when you're seeing people in their natural environments that feel authentic and aren't trying to be anything that they're not. And you'll see that in every TV show. The people that you feel you know warm to the most are those that you relate to, or that you can feel the sincerity, as you said, Beverley.
Well, it's been fantastic having you here. Hopefully you'll get some good contestants from our region. We really appreciate you coming on our little bit here for today. And yeah, we wish you the very best of luck. And hopefully we might be seeing our neighbours on this programme in the very near future. Sasha, thank you very much.
Thank you.